Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 25, Field Research. This unit deals with some of the techniques and methods which qualitative researchers use in their pursuit of data collection. Undoubtedly, field research has always been conducted as a matter of personal style. Clammer had once pointed out that many Indian anthropologists widely practiced the drawing up of inventories of customs in response to lists of queries of the kind given in notes and queries, but such encyclopedism has now almost universally disappeared. And Clammer mentioned four basic sources to styles in the practice of field-based research, namely the individual and idiosyncratic characteristics of individual field worker, ideological and philosophical assumptions, the general conception of method, the nature of problems being studied. You will not find all researchers using all the methods and techniques discussed in this unit. Depending on the sources of the personal style, a particular researcher may or may not use a method or technique. It is a good idea for you to get familiar with most common methods and techniques of qualitative research. With this notion in mind, we are going to discuss such methods and techniques as genealogy, interview, case study, life history, oral history, and PRA or RRA techniques. We begin the discussion with genealogical method. The first one is genealogy. One specialized method to study kinship family marriage is by use of genealogies, which are prepared using the techniques of observation and interview. W.H.R. Rivers showed the importance of genealogy in social and cultural studies and delineated the procedure of drawing up genealogical data. On the early realization of the importance of genealogical method in social research. Malinowski defined genealogy as a symptotic chart of a number of connected relations of the kinship. The investigator traces the genealogical chart of the respondent, called ego, by making inquiries from him. However, he may not place all his relatives in the right birth order, or his memory of them may be faulty. Thus, the field worker completes the genealogy seeking information from other respondents. The genealogical chart, however, may not be complete because people may not remember their ancestors, their names, and other details about them beyond a certain number of generations. The problem of remembering is bound to multiply in societies where descent is traced from both sides. The above excerpt is a quotation from Urry article on a history of field methods, and it shows a clear bias to intensive field work in single communities. Not only do field workers prepare genealogies, but also the people whose charts they prepare may also keep an account of their kin and affinal relatives. The kinship chart, therefore, is an analytical tool as well as an ensemble of rules according to which the actors are expected to behave. In societies where writing technology has made inroads, kinship charts that hitherto existed as part of the oral tradition are now being written down. Some societies have specialized groups of genealogists who derive their livelihood by charging their clients for keeping their kinship and marriage records. The facts of kinship and marriage that are of relevance to the researcher may not hold the same importance for the people. Thus, the charts that people prepare for their purposes are different from those that field workers prepare after sustained interviewing and observation. According to Fortis, the kinship chart that the actors prepare may be called pedigree, whilst the one the field worker prepares as part of his data depending upon his research interest may be known as genealogy. Genealogical data are used for a variety of purposes apart from that of study of kinship. Demographers use genealogical statements. Migratory history of peoples can also be studied through this method. Genealogy also facilitates the process of rapport establishment with people. Now let us move to the next point, interview, its types and process. Interview is usually defined as a conversation with the purpose of gathering information. There is, however, a difference between the everyday conversation and interview, the latter being an unequal situation in which usually the researcher decides and controls the talk either directly or indirectly. Interview is based on the assumption that the respondents' verbal descriptions are a reliable indicator of behavior, meanings, attitudes, and feelings, and that the stimuli are a reliable indicator of the subject of the study. It is a two-way process in which both the interviewer and the respondent have a mutual view of each other, engage in an interactive situation, communicate ideas, and an intimate relationship emerges between the two. Interview is an effective method of collecting information for certain types of assumptions, particularly when investigators are interested in understanding the perceptions of participants or learning how participants come to attach certain meanings to the phenomena or events. In such situations, interviewing provides a useful means of access. Unlike observation, it is less time consuming and one can collect data pertaining to intangible things. Interview is also a flexible tool that can be used to gather additional information on the spot that has not been predetermined. One can catch lies and contradiction easily by watching gestures and cues. Taking interviews is preceded by preparing a list of questions on the topics relating to the research problems. This list is known as interview guide. It is used as a ready reference by the interviewer to cover as many issues as possible in a limited period of time. It is fine to have a ready reckoner with you for an interview, but this may in some ways restrict the flow of information. For this reason, many researchers like to use different types of interview schedules. We may discuss types of interview on the basis of a number of criteria. After looking at different criteria, let us now discuss types of interview. The types of interview are generally classified into three types, namely structured interview, unstructured interview, semi-structured interview. We will now deal in some detail with each type of the interview in our next session. Let us now wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self-Learning podcast.